You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, September 8th, and thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you're joining us via Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story that's related to the story just presented. But without further ado, we have to go and take a quick break and pay a quick bill, and we'll be right back.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Thursday, guys. It's almost Friday. But coming up first, we have the dope dad himself. And look at that cup. World's greatest dad. World's greatest dad jokes, but some of them aren't really that funny. But nonetheless, when he's not being a dope dad, you can find him babysitting grown adults at a TEDx convention. And when he's not doing any of that, you can find him living out his college days while he's backpedaling on safe banking. That's right. It is none other than the one and only dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Oh man, backpedaling was probably the cleanest of my college activities, so I'm not so opposed to going back to that. So thank you for that phenomenal intro, Jason Beck, and thank you all for getting high at 9 with us once again. To everyone out in the audience, my headline today is from the Growth Op. Kingston police issue a warning about fentanyl gummies. Kingston, Ontario police officially issued a warning about fentanyl gummies after seizing a toy car gummy during an arrest in the Canadian city. Per the article, earlier this month, officers reportedly observed a hand-to-hand drug transaction in the area of Williamsville and arrested a 60-year-old male suspect of the offense. A subsequent search led to the discovery of an unidentified quantity of raw fentanyl and a single consumable fentanyl gummy police claim looks identical to a cannabis gummy. The police issued a public statement reminding citizens to only purchase cannabis products from licensed retailers and government-operated online stores. The man was held in custody for a bail hearing and charged with trafficking a Schedule 1 substance, possession of a Schedule 1 substance, and for trafficking a possession of proceeds of property obtained by crime not exceeding $5,000. It seems our neighbors to the north are having increasing issues with trap gummies flooding the streets lately. I don't know, maybe it's something to do with the bland packaging laws, making it much easier for legal products to be cloned. Currently, Ontario's legal cannabis edibles are limited to a maximum of 10 milligrams THC, strictly regulated, only sold in plain, child-resistant packaging, and must have the standardized Canadian cannabis symbol required for products containing THC and a health warning message, and must not be appealing to children. Earlier this year, a study by the National Research Council of Canada for the Ontario Cannabis Store and the Ontario Provincial Police found illicit cannabis products had lower than advertised levels of THC and pesticide levels several hundred times above Health Canada's limits. The article says the study examined 44 edible products. Half were legal and the other half were trap products seized by the OPP. On average, the unregulated edibles contain less than 20% of their advertised THC content, and some illegal samples contained up to 50 times below advertised THC levels. Others only had THC present on the surface of the edible, suggesting it was sprayed onto existing commercial products. None of the illegal samples came close to delivering what was advertised on the label, reads the report. So we've been fighting back against all these reefer madness stories here in America, with prohibitionist cops and politicians fabricating information claiming fentanyl-laced weed products are flooding the streets, only to backtrack weeks later after public investigations revealed the claims to be false. I really hope this headline follows a similar path, but I'm interested in hearing what the rest of y'all think about this one. I hope Canada gets their shit together, and I hope this turns out to be a bunch of bullshit. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News.
Well, first of all, Rico, it's clearly an illicit gummy, because if you look at the shape of the gummy, it's like the shape of a toy truck. Right? Did you see this?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. They can't have anything different than they can't have anything more than a square, right? Or
square,
a circle.
triangle,
So
something.
simple.
Yeah, it's super retarded how they have it up there.
I have a question, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want anyone to out themselves if they don't want to, but like, does anyone have experience of what fentanyl, like, how it, like, what drug would you compare it to? You know what I mean? Like, I don't even
A lot
understand.
of people probably have experience from it, but they just don't know that they took it.
Yeah.
Meth and cocaine, I think, is what it's typically the most mixed with. Huh?
Right. That's what it's most like, I think.
Well,
is
so
meth and
I don't.
coke.
Well,
It gets
that's
a
the whole thing.
thing.
It's a. I would classify it more as like a cutting agent that people would use in a diverse with drugs.
No, because it gets you high as fuck. Tiny bits of it get you high as fuck, and it like makes you great. Like
it's like the honey cut.
A cutting agent would be like baking soda or like fucking baby powder.
Yeah, it's like the honey cut of illegal drugs.
They put fentanyl in the coke to make it seem like good coke. You know, I mean, I think that's what it is.
But does
and that's why it is. So fentanyl in a gummy doesn't make any sense. I feel like that's the point. Maybe Nicole's like, this is the head scratcher here. Why is anybody trying to put fentanyl in a gummy? Like, what's the point of that?
That's where I'm confused because like everything I hear about fentanyl use has been in people trying to do nose drugs. I've never done it. I mean, maybe I have and I don't know. Like Rico said, who knows? But like, I'm not sure the physical and psychological changes that it makes is what I'm saying. Like, are there any doctors in the
there are actually
right
there are actual fentanyl lollipops though, right?
Yeah, no, I know, but I'm asking, how does it make someone feel if they just take it as a medicine? Because it is a medicine. Like,
I think it's like heroin.
So
it's like
doctors.
So it's like
we have all doctors.
Hold on, we have Waylon
pharmacists.
from the audience, and then we also have Dr. Felicia right after Waylon.
Okay, good. Thank goodness. Dr. Felicia, save me because I'm curious.
Oh yeah, Dr. Felicia is definitely going to have a better answer than I do. But you just covered it. It's really just to use to make it feel as if it was a stronger drug. So you put it into a gummy. It's not about what the high is. It's that they got them high and then they want it again, right? That's the whole point of it.
Exacerbates whatever the thing is.
Well, not necessarily what it is. It's a feeling of, oh, I'm fucked up. I'm high. You know, and now you want it again. If it didn't kill you, if it's over. That's the problem. 1% will kill most people.
I'm just saying, if I was looking for cocaine and I got something that made me go down, I would never buy that again. You know what I mean? So I'm talking about like, if you're looking for a state of mind change, what state of mind change is it giving you to think that,
you never want it again, but then you're like, oh shit, I want more of it, so I can get higher.
Right, that's what it is. It's addictive. It gets you. It gets that part in your brain.
Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Felicia. Rico's right. It's like heroin. It's an opioid. Fentanyl is an opioid. So it's gonna make you feel like morphine. It's gonna make you feel like heroin. You can call it that, but I mean, it makes some people feel good, and dealers are using it because sometimes when it kills people say, "Oh man, that is the strongest stuff. I want some of that." You know, that's what they do. And then the other thing is that it gets people addicted. And the withdrawal is so horrible that they want to get more to keep from feeling horrible. So it is similar to heroin and morphine. It is an opioid.
But then when it comes to like the mindset of somebody with a gummy like that, that's where I'm like,
bro, you want to try my heroin gummies?
I guess the ingredients must be so cheap.
That is all I'm saying. All I'm saying is, why the fuck would anybody do that to try to make it be like weed?
Well, I think the ingredients must be so cheap that it's cheaper to get a hold of than real weed. So
and just like a tiny bit. Okay.
In this story, the cops claim that there was an unidentified amount of raw fentanyl in one gummy was found. So it's kind of like weird story. And he was also held for less than $5,000 of product of a Schedule 1 product to be distributed. Like, it sounds kind of fishy with the reporting there. I don't know. It sounds a little reefer madness. And I hope that it is.
It does.
I really don't want to see these fentanyl gummies.
We also have Liz Rogan to make a comment on this.
What you got?
Thank you, Jason. Liz Rogan coming in. I'm also like, how do you know these things are evenly mixed? Because isn't that like the biggest deal with this stuff?
Yeah.
And thank you for letting me comment.
So I got a bag of fentanyl gummies. And only one of them basically has fentanyl in it. Is that what you're saying, Liz Rogan?
I sometimes play edible roulette where I'll get a bunch of Sour Patch Kids and then I'll throw in my edibles and I'll like randomly pick them out and I'll eat like 10 and be like, how high am I going to get? I don't know.
Yeah, that's the issue with the illicit edible. You know, a lot of drugs may be concentrated in one little part of the edible, and that's what makes people overdose as well.
Especially if they're spraying stuff on it, you know, like a lot of this converted oil and all this shit, you know, it's not evenly sprayed if they're not making it with it. And isn't it that the whole thing, like that Dance Smart and everything? They're like, test your drugs and make sure you test like all of them because there could be a little bit on the side that would do it. So.
Yeah, I think it's the best thing you could tell people is get a drug testing kit. They're only like $10 on Amazon. If you guys are going to be partaking in any kind of party drugs, you're partying with people that you don't know, man. Test that shit.
Guys, it's time for a drug test.
I always test my drugs.
We see who's got the cleanest drugs.
I always test my drugs. My shit's fire.
No, but isn't it hilarious that like we used to just smoke or whatever people gave you? I don't know. I've eaten acid off the shows and shit, and like just from random people. And then now I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm smoking my weed. Here, you hit my weed. I don't even want to smoke your weed. And stuff, you know. It's like fucking testing my own drugs, which is fucking hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I mean, but at the same time, when you sell drugs, you always have to remember that core rule is don't get high off your own supply. And if you're testing your own drugs, that goes against your core beliefs.
Oh God. Anyways, we're in the business of medicine over here. That'll segue us into our next story. Thank you so much for that headline. Super scary, but definitely something we want to understand more. Is this reefer madness, or are people really putting fentanyl in edibles and trying to pass it off as weed? So up next, we have Mr. Jason Beck. Jason's longest running retailer in the history of cannabis, our very own White Gucci, or Detroit's White Gucci for that matter, and also the highest Republican that any of us will hang out with. So Jason, what do you have for us today?
Oh yeah. Good morning, Nicole. Hope everyone is having an amazing Thursday. But today there's a big problem going on in Illinois. And that's right, it's Illinois, because the S is an important letter of the alphabet, and you can't silence people without the letter S. So, therefore, the S's shall never be silenced. Because cannabis advocates and business owners in Illinois warn the state's program is on the verge of collapse. Cannabis equity advocates and business owners are warning that Illinois' social equity program is on the verge of collapse. In a quote, I'm waving a flag at Governor Pritzker and Illinois legislators, and who's being hurt? It's us, the people who this program is meant to help, said Ambrose Jackson with 1937 Group. The group said that while the initial cannabis operators have thrived and grossed over $1 billion, social equity businesses have languished on the sidelines for 3 years, losing billions, according to the group. The groups blame the rules and regulations that are in place. They also said that most businesses have not begun building out their facilities and are far from becoming operational, despite what the state is saying, due to the rules and regulations and procedures in place. which they added also hurts the state's tax coffers, municipalities, potential employees, and contractors. Governor Pritzker's office issued a statement that said the governor looks forward to continuing to work with the General Assembly on streamlining the process and helping social equity applicants enter and thrive in the industry. And last month, a new wave of cannabis licensees were granted. 5 conditional licenses were issued to applicants selected in lotteries held last summer, and 182 licenses have been issued to date. 3 more are available through the program. Well, I'll tell you what. I will tell you what, guys, it's not looking good for Illinois' social equity program when you have the social equity applicants already crying foul. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot more of this, not just in Illinois, but in all of these states, because it's all got people fucked up. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News Hour.
Socialist equity.
Can you name one social equity business or one social equity state that is doing it right?
Well, I don't think anyone has, but I think everyone has all said that New York has came the closest to that, even though no one's seen anyone get operable yet.
Yeah, bro, so I think New York's going to be fucking scurry.
It is, bro. It's going to be crazy because it's going to be way cheaper to have a bodega than it is to have a weed store.
You're going to be in the business with the government, but
I mean, I'm not mad at being in business with the government. You know, the government got money; they can back you.
I think this just points to the Democrats once again fumbling the bag. They had 2 years to get this shit done, and they had 2 years to do this with a top-down initiative. I don't think that social equity is going to work state up. Period. You know, a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, it should be a states' right issue." Oh, states' right, this dog whistle bullshit out of here. It needs to be federally mandated. You need to have actual pillars from a federal standpoint for the shit to work and for states to fall in line.
Could we get to deschedulization first? I'm so sorry, but it's just like the dream, and it's watching from an outsider's perspective. It's like the federal government's definitely not going to do shit for anyone, least of all.
That's one part of the argument. There's one part of the argument, but if you're going to promise Black and brown communities that retribution, you're going to promise them that you're going to do things to help them because the war on drugs was a real thing finally, and your communities were fucked up because we did that, you need to follow through on that. And these states aren't going to follow through on that with everybody arguing about, oh, my plight was worse than yours. Oh, it should be covering this class of people rather than this class of people. And then you have gentrification plays into it. It's not, I get a lot of heat for saying this shit, but it's just not going to happen on a state level. And with the Republicans coming back into power, like, good luck with it happening at all. And this is why.
And that's the thing.
Period.
Good luck with it happening at all, I think.
Sense to have any sort of like balance, and you know, unfortunately, like we have to be told to do the right thing sometimes.
Yeah.
People, I talked about it yesterday with the unions. People are trash.
Yes, people are trash, and people are going to treat people like trash unless you know, rise up. And so, you know, I believe, and I want that to be so badly. You know, the cream will rise to the top, and we'll all do good just because we need to do good. But it's heartbreaking how much bullshit we as Americans will just keep like eating and dealing with and shoveling to the side. You know, we know our politicians make promises they can't keep. You know, we need to be, I think, more supporting these nonprofit organizations who are advocating and trying to help guide legislators. And I think New York has done an amazing job, again, from an outsider's perspective, looking in. You know, they got what they wanted. Now let's see if they can execute. And I think New York does it the way that New York is going to do it.
You think they're going to execute well?
It'll be a fascinating. I don't know, but I think it'll be a fascinating thing to watch. And I think if anyone can do it, they can.
I don't think they have the money to actually even enforce on the industry.
I think Nicole.
I think they do it the way they do it is what I'm saying. You guys are experts of how it's been done because you two, you know, Jason Beck and Nicole West, you know, you've done it.
It's going to be like the Oklahoma of the Northeast.
I want you guys to just like, what the fuck, you know, really watch.
Yeah, I want to go back to Nicole's issue from like yesterday. Like people are trash, and you need that necessary check. Like a lot of people don't like unions; they don't like how unions have evolved in America. But you need that necessary check for capitalism.
If people weren't enslaving people, we wouldn't have a problem. If people weren't abusing, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but the people are inherently greedy, and in capitalism, especially unchecked capitalism, it ends up with the fucking war on drugs.
And it sucks for people that are good people innately, because I'm not saying all people are trash. There are good people. There are good people in the world. Like, I do genuinely believe that. But I feel like the level of good people in the world are similar to like the level of good weed in the world. It's about 85% boof and about 15% quality. And so I think like human beings run a lot like weed plants, you know, like we've got 80% boof humans, 85% boof humans, and about 15% quality. And so it's, you know, your vibe attracts your tribe. But the problem is cannabis is bringing in money. And so there's just a bunch of that 85% coming in to figure out how to grow the boofiest weed the fastest as possible. And that is a part of every market. Every market. We're not unique. We're not fucking special in that. Like cannabis is just any other thing. Look at literally anything else. Houses, food, all of it. Like 85% boof, 15% nice. Quality.
Everything good in the world has come from something bad happening.
Yeah.
Period.
I thought the nice houses were for the 1%, not the 15%.
Shut the fuck up, bro.
I thought that Tori Hutchison was over the social equity program in Illinois, and I was very, very encouraged when I was hearing about their program initially. And I know that she's moving on to other things, but has she ever made any comments about why things did not go well in Illinois?
She was not quoted. She was
Good
not quoted
question.
in the article, Dr. Felicia. That's an excellent question. But at the fact that she's not saying anything, maybe, or that she's on to other things, maybe that it was such a failure over there that she left an abandoned ship and is focused on something that is more realistic.
Maybe she has a gag order. Maybe she signed an NDA. She can't say shit.
Thank you.
Ooh.
That's how they do it in Illinois. You sign that gag order.
Shout out to JB
Sometimes I just be
Pritzker.
getting gagged.
History.
Also, just from the side, not pressed down, in case you're curious.
From the
Some
side.
If you're choking somebody for sex, you squeeze from the sides of the neck.
Yeah, you don't put your
push
weight.
on it.
It's
put your
always
weight.
like
No
hand,
weight on it.
finger brace, and palm.
For all those gag orders in your life.
I mean,
You wanted to hurt good, not bad.
So that was, I mean, this is
story
an
is
interesting story, definitely. I think, like you said, Jason, we're going to just continue to follow more and more problems in the industry. I'm curious to see how New York shakes out. I think it's going to look really beautiful in the beginning, and at the end, it's going to be similar to indentured servitude. In like the most fucked up way possible.
so basically it's like you're gonna marry like the hot chick, and then all of a sudden after the marriage she just starts eating McDonald's every day and blows up into like some overweight crazy
nothing
person.
like that, Jason, because comparing a woman's size and body type is absolutely not something that I would make a comparison to falling apart. But that was a great segue for my story next, because this is perfect way to go into mine. So
All right.
you fucking introduce me so I can drop some shit on you.
Up next is business, agriculture, and efficiency specialist with over 12 years industry experience, is certified in 3 states with bona fide bullshit busting. She's also the High 9 News Hour's dirtbag expert, as we just saw. Come to the stage next, the self-described data bitch herself, Nichole West. What you got for us today?
Okay, so first and foremost, trigger warning. My headline today is actually going to discuss abuse and domestic violence. And so anybody who is in any sort of situation where they need help, we will have resources linked in our YouTube video for help for domestic violence. So trigger warning, everybody, if this is something you don't want to hear, turn it off. I understand. So my headline is actually coming out of Green Market Report, and it's in regard to a company that I've been reporting on a lot lately, Ascend Wellness. So as a recap for the past year of my reports on Ascend Wellness, about 1.5 years ago, Ascend Wellness acquires MedMen. About a year ago, deal starts to go south. About 6 months ago, deal falls out. About 6 weeks ago, MedMen and Ascend Wellness deal completely disintegrates. Ascend is at a big victory because they no longer have to be tied in with this MedMen deal. Ascend is in multiple states. They're an MSO dispensary chain. They do cultivate as well throughout the nation. I want to say they're in 4 states, maybe 5 states now. So my headline is Ascend Wellness CEO arrested in Florida and charged with battery. In a statement, Ascend said only is aware of the allegations and the company is conducting its own investigation. So I have to make the first statement in that one, these are the charges. And two, I have a follow-up with some tweets that happened in the past 24 hours from this gentleman as well as documents from the alleged abusee. So the head of the Canadian marijuana company Ascend Wellness Holdings was arrested in Florida on Saturday and charged with battery. In a statement, Ascend said that it's only aware of the allegations recording domestic-related misdemeanor against the CEO, Abner Curtin. And at the time, the company is conducting its own investigation, and the business has declined to have any further statements. So Ascend's stock price fell 10% when the news came out, but has since rebounded almost fully, might I add. According to the arrest affidavit, 55-year-old Curtin was arrested in Miami Beach at 4701 Meridian Avenue, the address of the Ritz-Carlton residences, after the witnesses saw Curtin striking his girlfriend, Savannah Rose, in the face while she was parked in the car. The witnesses stated she observed Curtin grabbing her head and striking her against the dashboard of the vehicle, according to the affidavit. The witness said that she also saw Shedka with her hands raised, trying to avoid getting hit. When police officers tracked the pair down later that evening, Shedka told that they had a verbal altercation, but that she was fine and that nothing else had happened, which sounds like fucking Stockholm syndrome to me. Officers observing a small bump on her forehead, which Shedka said was a pimple, and also a second small bump on her upper left eye. Curtin denied to the police that he had physically assaulted her, and according to the affidavit, said that she had tried to grab his phone and he pushed her arm away. That does not sound like smashing someone's face into a dashboard. Curtin was arrested based on the witness statements and the marks that the officers observed on her head. The hearing is scheduled for September 30th. Now, this story came out. Nobody was really fucking talking about it. And a friend of mine, Alice Moon, posted, "Why isn't anybody talking about this story?" And I was like, "I'm actually going to cover it tomorrow." And she messaged me, "Well, you probably want to see this." And so I'm going to pull up, he tweeted and deleted it already, a document that was submitted from her to remove the restraining order so that she was not pressing charges. And so the affidavit for non-prosecution by Savannah Shedka. So she's saying that she's an adult, that she's the girlfriend, that she does not wish to press charges, that she does not want to have a restraining order against him and a no contact order. And he posted this literally on his Twitter with the hashtag potstocks. I can't even make this shit up. So he took it off, and luckily, Betting Bruiser saved it. If you delete, he must retweet. But holy shit, he literally posted this with a picture of them and like, "Oh, I didn't hit her, pot stocks." Like, are you fucking kidding me? Not like a statement, not like I didn't abuse my girlfriend. It was a misunderstanding. Nothing. Just a fucking hashtag that you've been hashtagging about your business for the past couple of years, and a picture of you guys looking super happy. Who knows from when? And the fucking affidavit. Hashtag sick fuck. So with that said, I'm curious to hear what everyone else has to say. Thank you so much, Alice, for sending me over this information. She's always on the up and up of what's going on. So yeah, everyone pay attention to this. I don't feel like this was the affidavit. I don't feel like this was what actually happened. My personal opinion. Who knows? We'll see what the judge says. But yeah, Nichole West needing to get high after that at 9 with y'all.
Thank you for covering that, Nicole. Anybody who knows my personal background, my personal story, and see my TEDx, I grew up in a very abusive family, and my stepfather just beat the shit out of me, beat the shit out of my mother, and I had to grow up like witnessing that. So hearing shit like this and his reaction to it, it's not a surprise to me.
Straight trash. That
He used her
reaction.
as a shield. He used her.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry to
And
break in.
it's all good. It's not a surprise to see his reaction from that, but also, Ascend Wellness. Unfortunately, capitalism is going to do what capitalism does, and they're not going to even think much about
Oh yeah, Guap made a comment, and I was gonna say he already took his Twitter down. Abner deleted his whole Twitter. I'm sure he's getting like blasted from every angle.
I hope I hope this guy gets put under the jail. I know that our laws don't really support that.
I don't know. It's Florida. They don't have.
Yeah,
it sucks.
women are not protected the way they should be. But this is the worst of the worst, and I hope this guy gets prosecuted to the fullest. And I hope people never buy shit from him. Like, if you want to take it to capitalism, if you want to talk about the free market and everything, like, use your free market dollars and put them elsewhere until Ascend officially demotes him, fires him, and speaks out against this.
They need to also remove all of his ownership, Rico, because you can't just fire someone.
Buy him out. That's what I'm saying. Like, buy him the fuck out. Remove him from your company. And if you really care about the industry, you really care about the products that you're consuming, then don't fucking support this shit. Don't support them.
Must go.
Not send a fucking red cent of your fucking money. Period.
Yes.
Right. Sorry for dropping so many F-bombs.
Yes.
We do have Malik up from the audience in Clubhouse wanting to speak on this.
Real quick, I'll make it even less than 10 seconds. I would be curious if this article would state whether the police took her away from him before they questioned her. Like with the Ray Rice situation, when they bring this poor girl into the NFL commission and they ask her, did he, are you want to press charges? Of course not. They put so much pressure on these females when they're with the person that beat them to answer these questions.
Yes.
And they make it seem like if you do not say I'm not going to press charges, you're going to ruin Ray Rice's career. It doesn't say Ray Rice ruined his own career. It's putting the pressure on the females, and they probably do the same thing with her. So that's all I'll say.
It's extremely shameful.
Go to the
Extremely
Twitter
shameful.
and read the document. It it was obviously written by a lawyer, but it feels so fucking
you guys
fake.
Yeah, I just have to break in because trigger warning, me. I wrote a letter. My uncle's a lawyer, and he wrote a letter like that for me when I was in an abusive relationship, when I lived in San Francisco. Thankfully, when I discovered cannabis as a medicine. But I wrote a letter like that, but I didn't write it. A lawyer did, and that's part of the abuse, and it's so sad, and it's ongoing. And the fact that he would fucking post that and fucking think in some twisted world that is going to get him more money because that's all he thinks about, that's fucked up. This man must go.
Yep.
Period.
And Liz, I'm so sorry. So sorry for your pain. So sorry for your pain, Liz, and thank you for sharing. And I just wanted to say on behalf of that woman, she may have done that to stay in her privilege and all the goodies that come with being there. But even if he didn't have a dime, the fear of that person makes women stay there or try not to get the man in trouble. And we live in an environment right now, thanks to the previous occupant of the White House, where violence and anger are okay. It's okay in America now to be violent. And so she's probably getting a lot of flack from people who know him, people who stand to lose a lot of money because of their domestic situation. So she could be getting all kind of pressure and and threats just for speaking up.
It takes a lot for an onlooker to call the police on somebody being abused, especially, and I'm not trying to be ultra judgy on Florida, but especially in a place like Florida, for somebody to call the police on someone else. This isn't like a fight that got out of hand where you broke some shit and the cops got called, right? No, this is somebody saw you guys in a car and was like, someone needs to do something about this. A fucking stranger called the police. That's next level shit. That's next level shit. That's not a fight that got out of hand in the house and you were just get the fuck out of my house. No, this is strangers trying to help and intervene. So I just definitely want to make mention of this. I'm sorry for, fucking yucking anyone's yum this morning, but this definitely needs to be addressed. People need to understand what's happening, and the fucking pot trash fucking dude.
Nicole. I think after that, I think we definitely need a relight.
Oh, yeah, fucking disclaimer. We need a disclaimer.
Just
So,
that shit.
with that said, the thoughts and opinions and general shade thrown at the High at 9 News Hour are those of the individual speakers, not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, territory, or of any authorities. The views expressed in this room do not establish any fiduciary relationships. Our sponsors do not imply, constitute any endorsement by us or the expression by any opinion whatsoever, any part of any of the speakers on stage. If you're an easily offended person, the show is probably not for you. Also, fuck off.
Oh, yeah. Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX. Located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention that you like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
All right, can you guys hear me okay? Sorry, I had a power surge here. I'm
All
on
good.
backup generator. Cool.
Damn you, Gavin Newsom.
Fucking Gavin Newsom. I think the problem is I need a fleece. It's too fucking cold. Our next correspondent does absolutely everything. She's a patient plant medicine advocate and the founder of Purple Plant Magic. When not handling her business as Roz McCarthy's right hand on the left coast for M4MM, she's Power 88 Las Vegas' Encyclopedia Wednesday mornings and has been an outspoken supporter of Purple Lives Matter initiatives in the greater Clark County area. Nicole Buffon, what do you have for us this beautiful Thursday morning?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me loud and clear from Las Vegas? Thank you, Rico, for that introduction. My story today is coming from the shepherdexpress.com, Milwaukee's alternative news source, which I thought was interesting, by Jean Gabriel Fernandez. So far in 2022, the plant has been seized by the United States Customs and Border Protection at greater rates than marijuana. What plant am I speaking of? This plant is called khat. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but this was my first time hearing about it. Just last year, khat was significantly less commonly smuggled into the U.S. than marijuana. And every year before that, it was less important for illicit organizations. But as marijuana becomes increasingly legal in the U.S., shrinking the profits of trafficking it, khat has imposed itself as another plant-based alternative. In a single drug bust, U.S. Coast Guard and Customs and Border Protection seized more than 20,000 pounds of khat in Seattle on Sunday, July 24th, 2022. That single shipment contains as much as 10% of all the khat seized in the entire country in all of 2021. The role of khat in the American drug circles has been skyrocketing in the last couple years. It is therefore important to learn about it, like Americans 100 years ago had to learn about the scary new drug, cutting it. Khat is an evergreen shrub native to Africa and the Middle East. It has a long history of use by local populations, where chewing khat is a long-standing custom, similar to the use of cocoa leaves in South America. The khat plant is easy to cultivate. It grows in arid environments, requires little water, and can be harvested several times a year for its leaves, which contain its psychoactive elements, caffeine and cathinone. Cathinone has effects comparable to, but much weaker than, amphetamines and cocaine. It is a powerful stimulant that can trigger feelings of euphoria, confidence, and motivation. It is consumed in social settings similar to coffee and alcohol in the Western world. It removes inhibitions, eases socialization, and increases energy and talkativeness. In the United States, the khat plant itself is technically legal, but the chemical components within khat are banned substances. Cathinone is the one that has the U.S. government most concerned about, as it is a Schedule I controlled substance. That is the highest classification of drugs, where you find heroin and, hilariously, marijuana. It means that cathinone has a high potential for abuse and no medical use, according to the DEA. As usual, the DEA is entirely off the mark, as khat has a very low potential for addiction. The legality of khat and the harshness of punishment for possession can vary wildly between states. That is not to say that khat is illegal everywhere. The WHO considers khat to not be enough of a problem to include it in the single convention on narcotic drugs. The WHO determined that khat is less addictive than tobacco or alcohol and far less dangerous for the health of users. It comes as no surprise then that the plant is legal in many of the countries where it originated. Khat is legal in Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, and also in other nations, particularly in South America. It used to be legal throughout much of Europe, but it was largely banned in the 2000s and 2010s. In Canada, khat is also technically illegal, but Canadian courts have consistently ruled in favor of khat by refusing to dole out punishment to khat users because the courts say there is no evidence that khat is harmful. Starting in 2012, however, the United States started to push back against the illogical prohibition of marijuana. In just one decade, most states legalized some form of marijuana and nearly half legalized recreational marijuana. As a direct consequence, profits from illegal marijuana trafficking plummeted. Even the DEA admitted it after years of compounded data that made it impossible to deny. Marijuana legalization successfully undermines drug trafficking. In need of new revenue, these criminal organizations have developed other activities such as trafficking fentanyl and khat. They are taking advantage of khat's jarring similarities with marijuana. It is a plant, cheap and easy to grow and harvest. It is harmless and under the radar while being sought after by a large community of enthusiasts. It is also a Schedule I drug for no good indiscernible reason. It seems that until the U.S. gives khat the marijuana treatment and legalizes it through slow grassroots efforts, khat will be a reliable source of income for criminal organizations. Do we really need to go through the same song and dance number again to legalize yet another harmless substance? Only the future votes of Americans can decide that. This is Nicole Buffon reporting for the High at 9 News Hour. I was just fascinated by this story. It was great writing by the author, making it almost comical that this harmless plant is also a Schedule I drug here in the United States, and explaining its history. So I'm interested in what my correspondents have to say about this. And are you familiar?
I think is so. What is it called again? And can you spell it?
Khat. Khat.
Yeah, Khat.
Okay,
Yes.
I think I've tried this. I thought it was called Chet. So that's close enough for me to like.
Did
as
you
far as
chew it? Did you smoke it?
we chewed it. We chewed it. It would like put it in the back of our mouth, like it would be like chewing tobacco, and you would just you would just sit in your mouth for a while.
What were the effects?
Was it good?
No, I mean, I was like, I guess I feel a little bit, but I was like, oh, this is a baby drug. Like this is like I was like, and I had ran out.
Drug.
Yeah, and I had run out of my weed, right? And it was such a trip because when I would go and buy weed out there when I was in Ethiopia, I would get like, I would get pharyngeed, basically.
So I just typed in
Oh yeah,
Chet
we know.
drug. So I typed in khat and I learned a bunch about khat today. I never knew about this. I was super interested to learn about this drug.
Okay, so I'm not the only one. Okay.
No, I had
No.
never heard about it, Nicole. I learned
Great
about it.
story.
I like it was so, and it's insane. It reminds me similar to kratom. My mom is using kratom, and it's like changed her life and helped her. And the fact that like the government's fighting against like some plant that might make somebody who used to be a drug addict not have to take opioids every day. Like I don't really understand, the logic in it, but at the same time I feel like this is the same situation. It's just another fucking plant that they're trying to be like, nope, can't use this plant either. Like
Jason, the way you described it sounds kind of like salvia. Remember like salvia?
Yeah, but salvia you smoke. Salvia you smoke. This was something we chewed.
So when
and
I
was
typed
asking
in
I'm talking about like the effects of it.
when I
People are
typed
saying,
in
like, oh, this
Chet,
is bad,
nothing
this is
popped
bad.
up, but khat. It said, did you mean khat?
Yeah.
So I'm curious
Yes.
if other
Cot.
Okay, so Jason, have you ever actually chewed cocoa leaves?
Yes,
Or
I
like
have.
the cocoa pod?
Yes.
Okay, right. So have I.
Yes.
Have I, right. So was it similar to that high? Like that the juice you get, like the boost you get when you chew on cocoa
I mean,
leaves?
let me give you the perspective too, because I think the setting also correlates with it. Okay, so my driver in Ethiopia, his name is Johannes, and Johannes went and got the chet, and we're actually on a drive that's basically the same distance from San Francisco to Los Angeles. Okay, but this road is the craziest road in the world, and it took us 24 hours to drive, and they tell you in Ethiopia not to drive at night, but we did. We drove the whole night and everything. It was the most craziest trip, and so I took it while I was on this trip on the road, and like we're in like a third world country, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I wasn't in the most comfortable vehicle.
You're tripping while you're tripping.
Yeah, bro. Like I'm waiting for like people to like jump out of the woods with fucking crazy ass machetes and rob us and shit. And so
amazing.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome.
Amazing.
So I pulled up the DEA fact sheet on it.
Oh shit.
Because this
The
is always
data bits.
interesting.
Here
I'm
comes
always
the data
curious
bits.
to see what the government says about it. There's no understanding for an overdose, so they have no concept of an overdose. They're not even able to write about it in the DEA
I would
fact
agree
sheet.
with that. I would agree with that.
What's the effects on the body? Grandiose delusions, hallucinations, and hyperactivity.
Sounds like fun.
Grandiose
Can increase
delusions.
your blood
Confident,
pressure and your
super
heart
confident.
rate.
Yeah.
And it says it's
But-
similar to cocaine, amphetamine, or methamphetamine. This is so interesting that the DEA
Well, that
just
makes
answered all
sense.
of my questions.
My
thanks,
driver
DEA. Now I really
did
wanna
drive
do
all
it.
night. My Johannes did drive all night, and he was chewing the chet all night.
Yeah.
Chewing the chet.
It's
Yeah.
chewed like tobacco, then
Yeah.
retained in the cheek.
Exactly. That's exactly how I did it.
Chewing the chat.
Yep.
This was
Shooting
put
the-
out
shooting
420.
the shit with the chet.
Yeah.
This article or this drug fact sheet was put out on 420.
We have Dr. Felicia has
I
a
love
comment
it.
on this. What do you have to say, Dr. Felicia?
Well, Nicole, for one, I want to thank you for bringing the story. I have not heard of that plant either, but when you say chewing cocoa leaves is like chewing cocoa leaves, then that makes sense for a lot of other places in the world where this grows naturally. But the thing about the war on drugs, they are always trying to deal with the supply and they never look at the demand. People and animals always are seeking to feel different, and they're never going to take that out of us as long as we're human, number one. And number two, we got all this trauma and stuff going, so people are going to reach for something to try to get away from the pain that they're in. So the war on drugs is kind of stupid because you never can get rid of the supply and you're not even looking at the demand.
You're totally right, Dr.
I love
Felicia.
Dr. Felicia's economics.
Thank you for that. Yes, that is so true. I want to try cot now. I can't wait to try
Yes,
it.
let's do it.
I've tried it.
Cut.
I
I've
really
done
want to
Been
do
there,
it. I
done
love it.
that.
El Guapo says cut life.
Oh,
You start that. Yes, let's do it.
I feel like I'm gonna get a cot to sleep on, and then I'll do cot and have the full experience.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep
Caught
this
on the
shit
cot.
rocking.
All right. Well, coming up next, I hope you guys are all ready for this.
This is my intro. Or this is you, Jason. My
I
bad.
thought it was me.
It's on you. I point thumbs, not fingers, Jason. I'm not a Republican.
Somebody introduce me. I got a story to tell.
All right, here we go. Liz Grow is a cannabis storyteller and advocate from the Lone Star State, the Great Red State of Texas. She's the co-founder of Grow House Media, and you can find her weekly on her podcast, Feminized, with Liz Grow on YouTube and everywhere else you find your podcast. Coming up next to the stage, it is none other than the Liz Grow.
Hey, oh, thank you for that. That really did feel good. My story today, you guys, is from LA Weekly. It's Armed Cannabis Inspections Return to the Redwoods. This is by Jimmy Devine. The legal cannabis farms of southern Humboldt County are calling a recent wave of inspections the heaviest-handed enforcement the country has seen in the era of legal cannabis. But with how hard they've worked to get this far, many are scared to speak up. While enforcement actions take place all the time, recent actions involving Water Board, the Department of Cannabis Control, and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife drew extra criticism with farmers, calling them the first armed inspections they've had to deal with since going legal. John Casali of Huckleberry Hill Farms spent years in Redwood Creek drainage area, targeted last week. As one of the most public-facing farmers in southern Humboldt, when Casali started to spread the word about what was happening to his peers, word got out quick. This is what he says. What we've heard, to best of our knowledge, is that Redwood Creek, which is a sensitive watershed, is extremely low. So they're pointing their fingers at the small permitted farms along that drainage. Casali said, they're the ones that permitted us. Casali went on to explain that due to logistics of being a farmer in the Emerald Triangle, the state had been giving them 24-hour notice prior to the inspection. Excuse me, sorry. It's like a story about water and I'm like so dehydrated. But anyway, this gives the opportunity for farmers to prepare things like putting dogs away or making sure they're not at one of their other operations a couple hours away when inspectors arrive. It's a common courtesy thing, Casali said. So what has changed from then to now? We're trying to find out because now all of a sudden Department of Fish and Wildlife are coming armed like they need to protect somebody. Casali said that 14 farms in the watershed were inspected last week. All were found to have violations. Casali worried that it was heavy-handed strategy to set the area up for further scrutiny down the line. There are so many different rules no matter what, Casali said. They can find a little teeny piece of perlite and write you up, or if you're tagging the plants in the right place. There's always something to write up on every farm, so it seems like they wrote every farm up for the least minor violation. So later on down the road, they can see, we went down and X amount of farms were in violation. We talked with one farmer who had spent his years deeply involved in the country's cannabis policy development. The trio of inspecting agencies caught him by surprise a few weeks ago at his farm, about 2 hours from where the late August inspections took place. The farmer notes, part of the trouble is any natural or man-made channel more than 3 by 3 inches can be deemed a seasonal or active waterway. This leaves a lot of room for enforcement opportunities. So I kind of feel like those just searching for conversions is just a bit propagandist. It's kind of a false flag to get them through the gates, the farmer said. The most obvious point backing the farmer's take is why does the Waters Board need 2 other agencies tagging along if it's truly a compliance issue in that space? And the guns, the farmer said. There's no reason for the guns. We've had many, many inspections over the last 6 years, and none of them involved guns. That just kind of harkens back to the old outlaw days. And back then, it was very much us against them. But they're still kind of carrying that mentality over. When the farmer asked the Department of Fish and Wildlife why they felt they needed to be armed, they replied it was to protect the pencil pushers. But this is counter to another argument against firearms being needed. Many of the green rushers have left the Emerald Triangle. As the pound price crashed, the green rushers are departing. Much of organized crime operating in national forests. Who wants to live in a tent for the summer for $200 a pound? Don't get me wrong, there's some tapped hill kids, but with the departure of some of the most dangerous people in the region, who do inspectors need to be protected from? I'm not saying I'm glad organized crime came and went, but they don't know who's who, I guess is the gist of it, the farmer said. But the market has done what it's done. It's pushed everybody out of here. Nobody's making any money right now. People are hanging on by a thread. It's because their whole heart and whole soul are in this, their passion for the plant and the community. Now, we reached out to the Department of Fish and Wildlife to get their take on the move back to armed inspections. The first thing they noted in reply was that these inspections weren't supposed to be a surprise. They issued a notice of community meeting scheduled for August 18th to educate farmers on the current conditions in the watershed. And they also gave a heads up that there might be inspections. Now, the goal is to hear from licensees and discuss opportunities in the cannabis grant program to promote the water conservation efforts. Licensees were given the opportunity to meet one-on-one to address permitting and licensing questions, followed by a presentation on watershed conditions, the CDFW told LA Weekly in an email. Letters were sent out to residents of the community meeting on 8/18 and included a courtesy notice. The letters were returned undeliverable, and many of those were just returned. The CDFW notes that all of the encounters were professional and licensees were very cooperative. From their perspective, these compliance visits were not a mental series of inspections. So, you guys, I can go on, but I want to stop here and I want to hear what you think of this. Again, I am living in Texas, looking at this region, studying it. To me, it's like, why are you going back in there with guns, motherfuckers? But, you know,
because there's
please
fucking,
talk.
first of all, there's wildlife. And
Okay.
if I would not go in there without a gun myself, I'm gonna be real life. Going in there for
Please.
inspections, you don't know if they're good businesses or bad businesses, and there are still bad actors out there. And the CDFA has been carrying guns in like every fucking county because they're going out into some treacherous ass weird places. I literally had a Department of Agriculture inspector tell me they had to shoot at a boar once. That was the one time he pulled his firearm out. I asked the department, I was like, why do you guys have guns? They're like, dude, shit's sketchy. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. You have a fucking badge. You look like the police. They do.
Yeah.
They look like the police. That's their get up. They look like the cops. And like they are. They're earth cops. And
Yes.
so yeah, bro.
Earth
they deserve that.
cops.
They're earth cops.
It's called a game warden in Texas, and they can
They
go
deserve
anywhere
that.
and do anything and put a gun to anywhere and be
and
okay.
people that are like, oh,
Because
what
it's
are
the
these
earth
guns? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, come on. Like, all the inspectors are
Right.
gonna have guns. The people that are coming in to inspect your shit, the fucking IRS has guns now, guys. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But there's a history there, man. There's a history, a really dirty, deadly history there. You know, again, outside
It's
looking
not
in.
called Murder Mountain
It's-
for no reason.
Right?
Yes,
it's like, whoa,
it's-
man.
Yeah,
What are you
I
doing?
would.
So,
I wouldn't be an inspector in a lot of those places without
Yeah.
a firearm, and I don't have firearms. I'm not one of those
Yeah.
people that's like, I need a gun. Like, I
Yeah.
understand people's
I'm
rights
from
to guns.
Virginia.
the
I
whole
think
thing.
everybody should have guns. You should
Bro,
be able
I
to-
would have one.
Yeah,
If I was
I'm
going in
all
there,
for
like,
everybody
Everybody
having
does
guns,
in
too.
Texas, including
Yeah.
me.
Pow, pow, pow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you bring shit back to fist fights and how you stop all this news and shit. Like,
That is.
no, for real. Like where I'm from in Virginia, we don't have a lot of that. And I always joke with my homeboys out here, my street homeboys out here. I'm like, yo, y'all got gunshot wounds. We got motherfuckers missing because cops ain't gonna come on my fucking property looking for a body.
Yeah. The hard reset, right?
And we know how to shoot. Just saying.
Damn. Yes.
So with that
So-
said, I think the article, I understand the
Jeez.
stress, but here's the thing. Up there, unfortunately, there's a ton of agricultural violations happening on a regular basis. The fact that they're like, oh, they're nitpicking. No, I could walk into any facility and ask Jason Beck. I've literally bet people I could walk into any facility and find a violation right now. Me, and I'm not the fucking man.
Yeah, no,
I don't care who
Right.
you are. Challenge me.
Nobody.
Fucking challenge me, bitch.
No
Bring me
bullshit.
to your spot.
Yeah.
Give
Tell
me the
that I won't find a
playbook, and I will
violation.
fucking be the expert.
Because I will find a violation
Nobody
anywhere.
is
because
completely compliant. No, it's
No,
impossible.
No
no,
one.
yeah, and I think that's it did sound a
And-
lot
and
like
they're teaching
complaining.
us.
It did sound a lot like complaining, because it's like, yeah, that's kind of the job.
And I'm upset. Why did they bring the police? Why did they bring the fire? Why did cops bring the firearms? Why did police bring the firearms? I don't want the
We should do
firearms
like
on my.
you should do like the UK and just give everybody knives and just like
On Murder Mountain, that's all they have.
Dude, you know they
Okay?
only have like
Latin machetes.
2,500 guns in all of the UK.
Shut
and
up.
the queen
God.
it's like finding a fentanyl
and the
gummy.
queen is sick.
Canada.
The queen is sick. She's being monitored. She's being
saw
very
that.
sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Give her cannabis.
I would say
Give
big
the
prayers
queen
up, but I'm
cannabis.
against monarchies like altogether. You want me to do mine like real quick?
Yeah,
yeah.
go for it, Rico.
Yeah,
Go for
yeah.
it.
response.
Yes.
We got a little bit more news.
Let's do it. So my second headline of the day is by Rick Nathanson from the Rio Rancho. Rio Rancho. This one's out of New Mexico. Cannabis exhibit opens at the New Mexico State Fair. New Mexico's making the case once again that its industry came from the underground, and the DNA of our trap ancestors will continue to flow through our veins, whether it's on the legal or illegal side of the game. The New Mexico State Fair opens today and runs through September 18th, and the title sponsor is Verdes Foundation, which operates dispensaries in Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, and Santa Fe. This is from Kelly Butterman, the lead cannabis educator for Verdes. We are what we term a legacy dispensary. We've been open for 12 years in New Mexico. We're homegrown, locally and privately owned. We've been the medical cannabis dispensary for most of that time. And now we do medical and recreational, but we always have been priced and placed with great importance on cannabis education. Education about different industries in the state is also part of the mission at the New Mexico State Fair. And there's no better event to educate the over 21 cannabis curious. So I know we're short on time, so I just want to give a huge shout out to New Mexico for being the first state other than California to officially have cannabis representation at the state fair. So big up to New Mexico and everybody down there. We got to make a road trip.
I'm curious
Rico,
if they're going to do
I'm
a better
going
job
next
in
month. I'll
California.
be there in October,
Rico,
and I will see what I can see. Okay.
I'm curious if they do a
excited.
better job than California on the judging, because the judging portion for California, now don't get me wrong, I appreciated part of it. It was like terpenes and cannabinoids, but that was the only thing it was judged on. There was nobody getting high. Like, you eat the fucking apple pie and then you vote on it, and then the votes with the most good apple pie bites
I would like
gets
to see,
the apple pie.
yeah,
Like,
I would like
I
to
don't
see
think
state
how high
officials
I
getting
get
high.
should be the thing. Like, so I think the fair in California was doing a disservice to the industry by making the winner be the highest potency and the highest terpenes, because that doesn't necessarily mean best. And so I think I think the fair is based on flavor. And so if you don't get to taste it, I think it missed the fair mark. Like, I understand that they're trying to be sciencey, but that's not what the fair is. The fair is like, what's the fattest cow? And like,
the fair
what's the
ain't
fucking
fair.
It's instant gratification.
Well,
yeah,
it's
like,
fair. It's the
who makes
fucking
the best
fair.
fried Twinkie?
Fair.
And you get the
That's-
ribbon. You take the ribbon home. It's not
you get the ribbon
digital.
because people tried it, you know. And like, to me, I hope that New Mexico has a judges board. Did it say if they do or not?
Yeah, they didn't give a lot of details on this one.
Okay,
but,
well, we need to follow up on this, because we need to get information on how they do it, because I think this is important for us calling all fairs. Don't-
Well, I will say this, Rico.
Taste the pie.
You obviously,
Bite
you
it.
obviously, my friend, need a math lesson, because there's no. They are only. You said that they're the first state after California to do it. Guess what? That makes them the second state to do it,
Yeah.
not the first at anything,
Oh
because
my
California
So Guapo
is always
says
the first.
Oh my
the best
God.
car is the fastest. Yes, but that's not
That's
the
right.
fair.
Whatever.
That's right.
Guap, I'm
We
talking
did it
about the
before
fair.
them.
I'm not talking about
Yes.
a terp off. I'm not talking about a fucking grow off. I'm talking about the fair. The fair is like whose jelly is the best.
You know what? I'm with having
It's
like a
fall
weed tasting
harvest.
station. And
It's
like
an
you'd have like a
experience.
bunch of people out there just like rolling joints. I mean, how if you had this kind of a thing at a fair? All right, let's just be realistic, okay? Let's just say they have this at the fair, and let's just say that the judging hours are from like 1 to 5 o'clock, okay?
Yeah.
For all the days that the fair is open. How much weed, if you enter the fair, do you think you're going to have to give away to get those votes?
No,
Okay.
You just set the amount, you know, you just set the amount.
and it's like
we do
until
that
you run
at
out.
our
Everyone
Tasty
bring a
Texas
pound.
Hemp Cup. We do
Everyone
that at
bring
the
a
cup.
pound, and it's until you run out.
I think you
That
should
isn't-
get the cannabis of. You should get the state officials who have never consumed. They should be
Yeah.
the ones judging this shit.
Yeah.
Just
Get them all
them
high.
fucking sit in a fucking
Oh,
small
that's a
room
great
and smoke
idea.
all day.
All right.
No.
That's a
You can't
fucking
just have just
brilliant-
anyone
awesome
judging
story.
cannabis things. You just can't do that.
No.
It
All right,
devalues
all
the
right,
whole
all right.
competition.
It's fair. It's not the
It
fucking
devalues the whole
It's
competition.
the state fair competition for the ribbon,
We
Jason.
have
It's
to
Beck.
supposed,
state
it's,
fair,
it's
it would
supposed
be
to be the
fucking ribbon.
best. It's supposed to
Hold
be
on.
the best.
Honestly,
understands.
if we did it in California, right, I think the Emerald Cup would literally just become a part of the state
Straight up.
fair.
Yeah.
Like, that's
I was going to
what
say,
would make
that's you
most
guys
sense.
have that.
But we're going
Amazing.
to go ahead and end on that. We're out of
You have that
time
in the
today.
first.
Thank you guys so much. Make sure to catch us every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific. Subscribe, like us on YouTube, please. We're at high noon on the East Coast. Thank you to our sponsors, our audience, our supporters. Thank you to the haters for talking shit. Thank you to True Classic and LACC for helping us eat. Thank you to our correspondents for being abso-fucking-lutely amazing. Thank you to Weed for helping us be funnier, and 3 is 4 for being awesome trippy house cats and helping us sound like we actually know what we're doing. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us.
And
On the
Jaja
outro,
Simone holding it
guys.
down on Clubhouse.
Wait, what?
Jaja Simone.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.